The liquid culture.
What's up, everybody? Mitchell Chirac here with another episode of the Liquid Culture, final episode of Wine Tasting 101, guys. We are finishing it off with a bang with the big boy, big dog Zinfandel from California. It's also Cali Week, Cali Month. So doing some California wines this week. Gonna have some cool California beers. As well this week, it is also the 1-year anniversary of the Liquid Culture today. If you're watching this on the Wine Tasting 101 Tuesday, when it came out, this is the 1-year anniversary of me launching the website, launching the Instagram channel, all that cool stuff. So 1 year ago today was the big launch. I was actually out, funny enough, being it's California month, we were actually out in Carmel, Monterey area for some golf and for some relaxation, some beach time. Went and visited Ian Brand. Had met him once before on a trip out there and got to go and see his production facility and spend some time chatting with him on a little one-on-one basis, which was a lot of fun. So that's kind of the impetus of California Month, being as when I launched the site, I was in California and started pushing out some of the content that I had originally filmed ahead of time to get the site and the Instagram account up and rolling. So California Month, Wine Tasting 101, Wine Tasting Tuesday, tasting with intent, guys. Like I said, Zinfandel today, and probably, I don't know, maybe not the best bottle I could have picked for a California month, and actually this being probably the first post that's going to be up in as far as California month is concerned. But I actually picked a Zinfandel that was made with California grapes by a Texas producer. So, a little gray area there, but I've had this bottle before. I know it's a really exceptional bottle after that little snafu we had last week with the Syrah not being that great. I know that I've got a good bottle here for us today. So before we dive into the bottle specifics, let's talk a little bit about Zinfandel. So last episode here for Wine Tasting 101 series, at least the first iteration of Wine Tasting 101, I believe I'll probably somewhere down the line do another series of Wine Tasting 101 with some different grapes, because there are a lot of grapes out there, guys. I've only kind of scratched the surface with this first iteration of the series, but Zinfandel is definitely the biggest and kind of can be considered the biggest, boldest wine out there as far as just standard table wines. A lot of times Zinfandel can get really sky high in terms of alcohol content. This bottle in particular, 16.2 ABV, guys, which is quite high. Most kind of average ABV for any wine really, but especially for red wines, is in that kind of 13 to 14% ABV. So 16.2, quite high for this bottle here. Zinfandel also is very well known for its kind of big, bold, jammy, spicy flavor characteristics. A lot of times, though, Zinfandel can be kind of considered a lesser wine, or at least gets a bad rep, mostly from two reasons. One being white Zen, which is really kind of a double offender culprit for giving rosé and Zinfandel bad names. White Zen, very kind of bulk, mass-produced, sweet, blush wine that gave Zinfandel a bad name, gave rosé a bad name. Some people like White Zen, more power to you if you do. I'm not a big fan personally, and I'm kind of pissed off at White Zen for creating such a bad reputation for both rosé and Zinfandel. Other reasons Zinfandel can get a bad rap sometimes is because there is a lot of bulk Zinfandel that's produced in the Central Valley. Don't confuse that with Central Coast, but Central Valley of California. Bulk, big, jammy, flabby, residual sugar, kind of not very good bulk wine being made with Zinfandel from the Central Valley. Now, there are some really good Zins that come out of the Central Valley, but I guess the vast majority being that kind of bulk style that's not great. But you can find lots of really good Zinfandel, and in particular, I have had my eyes kind of reopened to the world of Zinfandel recently. And in fact, on my last trip to California, I tried Zins from a few different places and a few different terroir, all of which were really exceptional and really kind of got me back on the Zinfandel bandwagon. When you can find them that have that kind of jammy fruit flavor without being too cloying and kind of weighty and flabby, with the kind of smoky spiciness that you can get with Zinfandel, they're really quite a treat and become a really good food pairing wine for things like, really heavy, kind of rich, dark foods. Like, for instance, I made some mole, kind of stuffed peppers, chili rellenos made with ancho chilies and a nice, kind of rich mole sauce over the top. Zinfandel goes perfect with something like that. It's got those big fruit flavors. It's kind of a fruit bomb to pair with that, in addition to those smoky, spicy kind of things as well. So as far as like on the spectrum of Zinfandel, the reason why it can be such a great wine is because it can take on really, I wouldn't say the really light red fruits. I would say, raspberry and beyond. So you kind of go raspberry, dark cherry, into plum, blackberry, and all the way into like black currant, and those really kind of dried and jammy expressions of fruit with dried prunes, and you go with jam, like blackberry jam, those types of things, really kind of cooked down, really ripe expressions of fruit. And then you get spice, tobacco, smoke, leather, sometimes pepper, all of those kinds of things come into play with a good bottle of Zinfandel. Always expect a nice medium plus to full bodied wine, and you can usually expect medium plus to full tannin. But a lot of times with that alcohol and with those big juicy full bodied kind of dark fruit flavors, the tannin might not seem so austere because you've got some kind of body there, some foundation backing it up a little bit. So let me tell you a little bit about this bottle. So 2016 Zinfandel Oso Estrella. This is the California label for Texas winemaker Ron Yates. So down here in Fredericksburg, you can visit the Ron Yates tasting room, where you'll find all manner of Ron Yates wines. Their head winemaker there, Todd Crowell, one of my favorites, really is doing exceptional things with fruit from both Texas and California there. And as I've talked about with you guys before, I'm always down for a Texas winemaker making wines with other fruit, as long as you're properly labeling them as such. And in fact, they go with a full-on whole different label setup and everything, so that there's no confusion that Ron Yates Texas wine is being made with California grapes. They're two totally separate labels. And when I saw that they had made this Dry Creek Zen from Forcini Vineyards, I knew that I had to snag a couple of bottles, because Dry Creek, and not to geek out too much, guys, this is the Wine Tasting 101, but Dry Creek is my favorite place to find Zinfandel. I find that it's a little bit cooler there, so you have those less jammy, overly extracted, flabby expressions of Zinfandel. You have some really nice, complex expressions of Zinfandel that still bring that full body, right, and all that power and all that grip, but in a very complex package, which is always really, really nice. So let's take a look at the color here. Honestly, lighter than I expected, but again, coming from Dry Creek in Sonoma, North Coast, California, a little bit cooler climate, so you might not have as big of an expression of Zinfandel here as you would from some other places. This one, it's I would call it dark ruby, leaning to purple, and not dark, I'm sorry, kind of medium plus intensity of color. I can see through almost to my writing here, so I wouldn't call this dark opaque. It's definitely slightly transparent here, to where you can see through it, and it is leaning, it's ruby, but it is leaning towards purple for sure. On the nose, really quite a bit going on with this wine. Definitely dark fruit into the spectrum. I'm not picking up really any red fruits with this, which again is expected with Zinfandel. So for me, I'm getting things like a black fleshy cherry. So definitely on that kind of more ripe end of the cherry spectrum. I'm getting black berry. I'm getting a little blueberry, a little blue fruit in here as well. Definitely a little almost like acai bowl kind of like thing going on here. That kind of blueberry. Blackberry, you can call it black raspberry, black cherry, plum. There's some orange peel. You can smell that alcohol too, so I'm almost getting like, I use this a lot if I'm getting these two things. If I'm getting orange peel and I'm getting alcohol on the nose, it takes me to like an old fashioned, especially if there's cherry involved here as well. I mean, cherry, orange, alcohol, this smells kind of like an old fashioned, but you know what the cool thing is? You're drinking an old fashioned and you're just ripping through a bag of Lay's barbecue potato chips. There is whatever spice blend is used for the Lay's barbecue potato chips. That's what I'm smelling in here. It's got this sweet, smoky, peppery kind of like thing going on with it that is like, it's jumping out as like Lay's barbecue potato chips, which is cool because a lot of times Zinfandel is pegged as like your go-to safety barbecue wine. So if you're eating a plate of brisket, sausage, some baked beans, potato salad, all that good stuff that we have, down here, Texas barbecue or from elsewhere, I wouldn't really go maybe the pulled pork kind of whole hog route, but definitely your more meaty, charred, smoky beef barbecue. And I think that ribs, if the ribs are done with the right kind of dry rub and even kind of KC style with that real sticky sweet barbecue sauce, I think that those things are all kind of perfect for Zinfandel. I'm actually not gonna call this as a barbecue. That's not gonna be my food pairing on this wine. I'm gonna think of something else here because it almost smells too barbecuey to where it's almost too much barbecue going on. So I want something a little bit different, maybe in the same vein though. And there's a slight kind of minty eucalyptus kind of thing going on with this wine as well that I really like. So really a ton of stuff in this wine, which again, like I said, I've had it before, so I know it's good. But really, I actually think the last time I drank this wine, I didn't really dive into it as much as I am right now, and I'm pulling all kinds of stuff out of here. Definitely going to be spitting this 16.2. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon here. And did not pick a good day to get excited about Zinfandel. It's going to be like 98 degrees here, which is not Zinfandel weather. Okay, on the palate, tannin not super strong, which is cool because a lot of times, like I said, that Zen can really get up there. You get the alcohol a little bit. The alcohol is definitely kind of it's when you exhale, you kind of get it coming out of the mouth a little bit. Tannin, I would say medium, honestly. The acidity is really nice on here. I feel like this was probably harvested a little bit earlier, which is awesome because it's maintaining this nice, bright, fresh acidity. Real peppery, real peppery on the palate, and a little hint of like almost the jammy blackberry jam on the palate as well. So peppers here on the palate. It's got real bright acidity. I think that this wine could probably, even though it doesn't have crazy tannin, I think with the alcohol and with the acidity on this wine, this is a bottle that could for sure age and probably develop more kind of tertiary kind of tobacco and spice kind of characteristic could kind of come in as some of that jammy fruit kind of falls off a little bit. But overall, a really nice wine and a really cool expression of Zinfandel. It's not super weighty. Like I said, looking at the color, you probably don't expect it to be. It's not super heavy on the palate, but it does linger. This is a lingerer. With that alcohol, that 16.2 alcohol, that real bright acidity, this thing is still lingering on my palate. This is the kind of bottle you open up and you take pour a glass, and you can pour a nice full glass and probably babysit that thing for an hour, because it's such a complex wine and it lingers for so long that you really don't need to take another sip of it for a good 5-10 minutes. This is definitely a powerful, bold, complex, but slightly outside the norm as far as structure is concerned, in my opinion, for Zinfandel. Food pairing. It's warm. It's warming going down too. This is the alcohol is for sure prevalent with this wine. It's kind of warming my chest all the way down here. Food pairing. I'm gonna go a little bit left field here. I think you guys might not expect this one. A fish pairing. Blackened redfish. I think a really nice, well-seasoned, well kind of broiled blackened redfish with some Alfredo pasta. Blackened redfish, little Alfredo pasta, and maybe some nice, simply sautéed green beans. I know that that's probably not what you're expecting, especially for being the biggest, boldest red wine we've got here, but blackened redfish has that kind of big, powerful flavor, as well as it's a meatier fish, and I just really think that the acidity is right here for something kind of in the fish realm, and I'm thinking that so we talked about those Lay's barbecue chips. Don't want to go barbecue because that would be almost too much barbecue, but I think that blackened rub, that Cajun rub that goes on a redfish, a blackened redfish, is close enough to that barbecue thing that this, I think, would work really, really well. You have kind of pepper on the palate, pepper there that they kind of play with each other, and one doesn't overtake the other, but you've got good fresh acidity, especially to cut through that rich Alfredo pasta. I think that that's the play with this wine for sure. Would highly recommend this wine, and I think that they still have some of this available on the Ron Yates website if you want to go snag it. I mean, this Forcini Vineyard, the fruit that comes off the vine for this bottle, these Zinfandel vines, some of which are 100+ years old. So really nice old vine Zinfandel from a really good terroir, Dry Creek in Sonoma in North Coast, California. I would highly recommend buying a bottle of this to drink. Well, maybe not now. Buy a bottle of this to drink in the fall, and then another bottle to age for another couple of years and see what happens, because it's pretty stellar. So wave goodbye to Wine Tasting 101, guys. This was the last in this series. If you're watching this video on YouTube, definitely go on to the website and check out the write-up for this final part here. Brief write-up, couple paragraphs, and continue looking forward to California month here on the Liquid Culture, because beyond California month, the rest of the summer is going to be straight chilling. I mean, it's going to be tank tops, it's going to be bubbles, rosé, tiki drinks, light beers. I mean, we're not going to be learning too much over the course of the rest of the summer, so enjoy it now while you got it, and thanks for being here with me, guys. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.